recording there.
We're good to go? Okay, okay. Well, hey, good evening, Cassie, I guess. My name is Mayor Mike Wickers, and this is the business meeting for the Cottonwood Heights City Council for December 6th, 2022. I've asked our District 4 Council Representative, Ellen Burrell, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Burrell. Item 3 on our agenda this evening is a citizen comment period. I do not currently have any cards. Is there anybody online?
There's somebody that was online. Paula, was
They
John?
They
John,
don't have their raised hand.
okay. I also have there was a document that was sent in for comment.
Okay.
You want me to start with that?
Yes, why don't you start, Tim?
Okay, we received this. It is from John Van Staveren. And it's related to it was a submission he submitted today for the council meeting. And this is what it states. It says, hi, in reviewing the agenda for the work session at 4 and meeting that is open to the public at 7, I'm submitting the following questions and information. It relates to short-term rental. He said, I recently found out that my short-term rental is not allowed in Cottonwood Heights. I've been reading online that the city is concerned with the low availability of affordable long-term rental properties for citizens looking for a place to live. The space I offer does not have a kitchen, only a living area and a bathroom, so I'm not certain how my space would be beneficial to the city for citizens looking for long-term housing. And then he talks about, he says, what exactly is the city council's concern about short-term rental in Cottonwood Heights when the potential space to be rented is not capable of being offered long-term? Has the city done anything to implement any type of flexibility solution to the matter of short-term rentals? Is a variance of zoning possibly a solution to give a resident the approval to provide a short-term rental when the space they're offering is not suitable for long-term rentals? If not, please explain why and what an alternative solution would be, or has this been discussed previously? Has the city taken into account that these short-term rentals bring positive exposure to the city and tax revenue to local businesses, residents, and visitors? Has the city done any research of other neighboring cities and investigate how they include short-term rentals and what criteria they use? In conclusion, I'm aware Sandy allows a licensed small business to apply for approval to have a short-term rental, and not all the allowed licenses have been taken. If Cottonwood Heights could offer something similar with an applicable tax, wouldn't that be a good source of additional tax revenue for the city that could benefit residents, the city, other businesses in the area, and visitors? My space is not designed to cover long-term rental needs. And there would be empty rooms left that would not be in use. So that's why we all need a solution with more flexibility. At the end of the day, in these difficult times, some people rely upon the income to pay their mortgage bills and medications to put food on the table. We would like to raise the concern. Also, people in the neighborhood are wanting to have this topic discussed more. People in the neighborhood with the same issue feel neglected and not being treated equally as people in neighboring cities. We like this area and want to contribute in the best way to the community with the potential we have. And he has submitted some emails and questions. We will respond back to him. I think Councilmember Newell, he's also sent an email to you that you referenced or sent it to me today. Okay, so
Great, thank you. And nobody has a hand up online, it looks like. So, oh, we do have a gentleman, John Adams. Come on up, John.
Sorry, I kind of came down last minute after tuning into the meeting earlier. I got 3 minutes. It looks pretty quiet here, though. So my notes are a mess because I just was scribbling stuff down before I came down. It really had to do with your conversation around, and I think I spoke about this before, but the YK survey that's gone on. originally was going to comment next week about some Councilperson Newell's op-ed on growth and housing. And but it tied into the surveys, then you guys brought in the surveys, so I just tried to piece together a couple ideas. Well, I guess it was fresh in my mind and hopefully fresh in your guys' mind. But it struck me to see the challenges again, to say, you know, what should the questions be? And I really liked the questions that were asked that said, what are we really trying to accomplish here? And then you guys went on to say, I think Mike, you did, or Mayor, you said, what can we do? Are we addressing stuff that we can do stuff for? So, sorry, let me go through this for a minute. In my view, the questions in the surveys are taking the wrong directions because they always seem to start with the same prompt about how Utah is so awesome. People are going to keep coming here. Cottonwood Heights is great. People are going to keep coming here. We're going to grow, and they don't say it, but it sounds like we're going to grow whether you like it or not. So just accept it and let's plan for how we should grow. And there's nothing wrong with planning around growth and the growth we're destined to see. And it's imperative we do. And I think even today, Mike Johnson was talking about growth, and Mike said, I kind of like, he preferred to use the word accommodate growth versus react to growth because it sounded, I don't know, maybe a little softer, but it still doesn't really offer new ways to measure how we measure the success of growth. And what I offer is the thought process that although we realize we used to have a purpose to grow, and now we're trying to deal with it, the way we still deal with it, to my mind, is a mindset about back how when we were actually trying to grow, excuse me, and how we measured growth. And a big piece of that is GDP, is a measurement of success of the goal. Sorry, I just got a shoulder surgery and I was going to come down. You guys talked about what was going on down at the point. And the big thing on there was the economic growth and the GDP. It wasn't about, hey, we're going to be net zero carbon or anything like that. GDP measurements of growth, of GDP measurements of success pay no attention. In other words, they don't measure things like equality, well-being, or environmental consequences. These things are really merely cast aside as externalities of the growth focus, whose cost is really put upon the people. We all know we can't grow forever, but really the key is no one really taught us how to transition from trying to grow to dealing with the negative effects of growth. We haven't dealt with that. We have a capitalist system that serves the market, and we haven't figured out.
You're okay. Keep going.
We haven't tried to figure out how to have it solve human problems. You know, there again, we in Utah, we've exceeded in growing. We've done it. The marketing's been great. The Mighty Five, the 2002 Winter Olympics, the Olympics that are coming. We've figured out how to grow. So I throw this out really quick, and I know it's hard because you can't see it, but a thought process of what I'll call 1.0 surveys versus what I think should be 2.0 surveys for where we are. 1.0 survey approach is get a tally of what people want. The mindset is the acceptance of endless growth as the norm, and the underlying goal is growth, or maybe now we want to call it accommodating growth. The measurement is still around GDP, where the economy is in service to finance and trade only. The benefits are, of course, a broad tax base and more jobs, although those jobs are supposed to solve for equality, but they don't. The outcomes, and you guys are feeling this, Sean, you used a word today about maintaining serenity. That's a big word. You must be feeling a lot of pressure around growth and housing. But the outcome of the way we do these, it divides us because we focus inwardly on personal desires and wants. It promotes extremism views where you might have people coming that are pro-growth or anti-growth. And it's inward thinking and addresses the needs of us as we define ourselves as a consumer. And I'll address later because I know I'm out of time, but vocabulary I think we should adopt, which is consumer versus a citizen. So really quickly, some ideas for survey 2.0. The approach could go from tallying votes of what I want to shifting from feeling and emotion-based questions to reasons and community spiritedness-based questions that are anchored in our values and help us understand our growth-based anxieties. You guys talked about this today. You have anxiety, we have anxiety. And you talked about having to educate consumers because we don't know how to answer these questions. What do you want in the growth? Do you want A or B? I don't know. 2.0 changes the mindset to a shift from consumer needs to citizens' well-being mindset. I do have definitions that I can give you guys later. We changed the goal from growth to thriving, where the aim should no longer be for an economy that needs to grow, whether or not we thrive, but for an economy that enables us to thrive, whether or not it grows, where we improve the standards for all. How do we measure the goals? How do we go past GDP measurement? We measure it as solutions to human problems, where the economy now becomes in service to life and society instead of in service to finance and trade. Benefits that will ultimately update our legacy sense-making and decision-making process and identify parts of that process that are no longer serving us. We can't continue to make decisions the same way we did back when we were trying to figure out how to grow this city. And the outcome, hopefully, is that it unites us by focusing outward on our commonalities and our values and reduces the extremism of the us versus them rituals. You guys also talked about participation in the surveys and the need for education. And I think the 1.0 I explained gives more of a, government set to fix it. There's little need or desire for me as a citizen to get involved or get educated or maybe even answer the questions. But I believe some of the framework I talked about in 2.0 puts some of the onus back on us as citizens. We can't get through this with you guys figuring it all out. And frankly, there isn't an attention economy going on here where we all have jobs and everything that take our attention away from maybe my time to sit around and think about this. And I have a proposal I was going to try to put together for next week. I'm hoping I have time of what a citizen community group could look like that could help you guys and help us to put thought process around this and try to bring our citizens closer together. I guess more on that, but there's no end point there. I just wanted to drive something for you guys to think about a little bit since that conversation you had on that earlier. I think it's really important we get it right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Thank you for being online and coming and for adding a voice to these important topics. So thank you. I don't see any other people online looking to talk. So at this point, I'll close the citizen comment period. I did want to mention, we have a former council member, Tally Bruce, whose husband, William Ray Bruce, passed away this past week, and the city would like to pass along our condolences. So we have 5 legislative items to consider this evening, beginning with item 4.1, consideration of ordinance 389, adopting an annual meeting schedule for 2023. We discussed this item earlier in our work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 389.
I'll make that motion to approve ordinance 389.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Newell and a second from Councilmember Bracken. I will now call for the vote. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Item 4.2 is consideration of resolution 2022-55. And I'm going to have our city manager, Tim Tingy, just briefly discuss what this item is.
Yeah, this is a resolution that expresses concern and opposition to UDOT's proposed gondola option for transportation issues for Little Cottonwood Canyon. The focal point, there's a variety of focal points of the resolution, but we have expressed as a city and community in their public comment period our concerns. We submitted documentation and a letter to them expressing our concerns. There's a variety of elements of that, and it especially in that letter. This resolution focuses on a number of things, including the cost to taxpayers of this gondola of at least 550 million in initial construction costs, which results in only direct service to 2 ski resorts, remove only 30% of vehicular traffic along the corridor, the regional intermodal hubs, which is something that we have constantly had a desire to have UDOT look at, is not something that is facilitated with this. In fact, there's a 2,500 space stall or parking structure that's going to be built for the gondola. The capacity of the road and what that's going to do of Wasatch Boulevard and the impacts on traffic, as well as a number of other elements, is what is contained in this resolution that's being considered tonight. It's something that we had talked about previously. It was on an agenda, and now it's coming back to this point, and that's the component of the resolution that we're recommending approval of.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council?
Yes, I would like to make a comment in the weeks since the closure of the comment period. There has been further study of by some of my constituents in District 4 of the traffic load, and by UDOT's own traffic analysis, there will be backup on those peak mornings for people trying to get into the parking stall garage that will cause backup to Golden Hills Park. So this is truly on many levels a real burden to the residents of Cottonwood Heights, and particularly to those who live in District 4. And so I want to go on record with that. And I also want to emphasize that the resolution also denounces the extreme widening, UDOT's preference for a 5-lane expansion to Wasatch Boulevard, which will also reduce the quality of life and encourage the high speeds that we are very much against as a city. So I just want to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burrell. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2022-55.
I will motion to approve Resolution 2022 60, is it 61? Oh,
55.
55.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Burrell and a second from Councilmember Newell. Final questions, comments? I will now call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken. Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Next is item 4.3, consideration of resolution 2022-61, approving a consulting agreement with NFP Corporate Services, Inc. We also had the opportunity to discuss this item earlier in our work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve resolution 2022-61.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Bracken, and a second from Councilmember Peterson. I will now call for the vote. Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
and I will vote. Item 4.4 is consideration of resolution 2022-62, consenting to reappointments to the Cottonwood Heights Historic Committee. This would be the reappointment of Jerry Christensen, Jessica Despain, and James Kitchis to the city's Historic Committee. We also discussed this item in our work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2022-62.
I will offer that that we move forward with resolution 2022-62 and say that with the really commendation to these individuals who are being reassigned, serving on the historic committee myself. They are incredible people. And it's an incredible attribute to our city to have these people and this committee.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. So we have a motion to approve from Councilmember Burrell and a second from Councilmember Peterson. Final questions, comments?
I would encourage anybody who may be listening to hit the city website. Put together they're building an archive online. Documents, photos and things from the city that's actually already fairly extensive. They're building on it. Well worth looking into.
Thank you, Councilmember Bracken. So I will now call for the vote. Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
and I will vote. Okay, the last item for tonight, our last action item rather, is consideration of resolution 2022-63, which is accepting requests for defense and indemnity. We also had the opportunity to discuss this in our work session earlier. Any other questions or comments from the council?
No, as I noted before, these requests are need to come before us, so long as our employees are acting within the color of their authority and responsibility. So I would propose we approve resolution. Yes.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Bracken and a second from Councilmember Peterson. Final questions, comments? I will now call for the vote. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Newell,
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell,
Yes.
and I will vote. Okay, the last item for this evening is just approval of our consent calendar, the minutes for both the work session and business meeting from November 1st and November 15th. Could I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move that we approve, Mayor.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Peterson, a second from Councilmember Newell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that concludes the items on our agenda tonight. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.